Hello brothers and sisters, welcome to another episode here on Dangerous African Confessions HD. In this episode, we have the continuation of the confession from our sister Betty, who shares with us her life story about how her auntie treated her when she came to stay with her in the city. But before we go into what we have for this episode, our team would like to apologize to you all our cherished followers and subscribers for delaying in uploading anything in these past 2 days. We had a problem with our systems. But we have been able to fix the system, and we promise to always continue to share with you what we have on our table. Please do share our videos so that others can benefit from hearing some of these stories in order for them to also learn from some of these confessions. Thank you, and let's get into what we have for today.
But then, after everything, she blessed Michael and told him that, from that time, she is my mother and father at the same time. So, he should take good care of me so that I will in turn come and take good care of her. We came back to the city. And when we were almost at our gate, Michael saw someone that he said he knew him. That was when everything changed for my Michael. They continued with their talk for a while and asked Michael what exactly he and that other guy always seems to be talking about. But then, he told me that it is not something for me to be worried about. He said that it has absolutely nothing to do with me and so, I shouldn't worry my head over it. That was when I thought everything had died. One day, I told Michael that, since we have gone to my grandmother's place, we should also go and meet his family too. He told me that he is willing to do that, but he has a problem with his father and until they solve it, he doesn't want to bring me into any of their issues. I wanted to know what the problem was, but Michael never told me about the issues he has with his own father, which is preventing him from introducing me to them. I asked about his mother and he said that, for his mother, it is not a problem if I wanted to see her. But then, I should understand that, there is nothing that his mother can do. Because, she is at the control of his father. And that is even part of the problem he has with his father. Days pass, and it became weeks. He finally introduced me to his mother and uncles as the person he intends to marry. They told the father about Michael's intention to marry. The father said that he is not interested in his marriage and he can go ahead and do whatever he wants. Because, he doesn't want to be a part of anything about Michael. We came home and I couldn't understand certain things. One was the place Michael took me. And the kind of people I met there, who he introduced as his uncles and fathers. They all seemed rich. So, if your mother is this rich, why are you staying in this small apartment and doing this kind of work? When I asked him, he said that his father wanted him to become an accountant but he insisted he didn't want to become an accountant and that he wanted to become a photographer. Which his father didn't want to have anything to do with it. So, that he said was what brought about the fight between himself and his father. And apparently, the father said that if he so feels that he is of age and didn't want to listen to him, he should leave his house, which he gladly did. But for the kind of work he was doing, was not because of the money. He said that he did find happiness helping other people. And all the monies that he and his friend were making out of that work, they were saving to just prove a point. The reason is that, he said his mother had given him some money when he left the father's house, that was why the father was always at the head of the mother whenever an issue comes up and the mother decides to say something. So, he and the friend wanted to just gather something out of nothing and get the equipment they needed. So, after a while, his family elders did talk to the father to at least allow someone to represent him if he wouldn't be present when the marriage is due. He agreed to it that his elder brother can do whatever he wants to do. But they should take his name out of it. So, it looked like everything was set for our marriage and I also told my grandmother about it. I gave her the date and Michael made an arrangement for a vehicle to bring them to the place where everything was going to be taking place. The reason is that, when I told my grandmother about our intentions of doing it in my place, my grandmother said that, they are few and it is Michael that has a lot of people. So, if we can arrange for a vehicle to transport them to the city, they will rather come and witness the ceremony there rather than we going back to the village to perform the marriage rites. Everything with regards to the marriage plans were done. Invitations were sent to loved ones and friends. Michael insisted I sent my auntie an invitation, so I did. She said she will come. I thought she wouldn't come. It was about 3 days to the marriage rites when Michael's father returned from outside the country. His mother called him and told him that his father wants to meet him. I wanted to accompany him, but he insisted I stay back for him to go and see what the father wants to see him for. He returns that evening and told me that they have resolved their issues and his father had agreed to represent his position as the father as our customs demands. He told me that the father said he should bring me for him to meet his daughter-in-law before the day comes. We got to the house in the evening and we met Michael's mother first. She gave me a seat and asked Michael to go and call his father in their bedroom. Michael came with the man supposed to be his father. And to my ultimate shock, it was the same man that forced his way and slept with me in the hotel room, whom I am about to marry his son. The very moment he saw me, he shouted, "You." Then he turned to Michael and asked him if I was the one he says he wants to marry. Michael answered him yes and asked if there was any problem. He said no, but there is something about me that he does not feel right about. Michael's mother wanted to find out what the problem is, but then he shouted at her to shut up for him to talk with his son as men. He asked Michael to walk with him to the bedroom. When they went away from Michael's mother and myself, she asked what the problem is, and if I know her husband anywhere. I told her, I honestly do not understand what is even going on and do not even know him from anywhere. She asked again if I was sure, and I told her yes. After a while Michael came out and asked us to leave the house. His mother tried to find out from him what they talked about, but he didn't answer her. On our way back home, I wanted to know exactly what his father told him. But he didn't answer. He was moody the whole time, till we got home. When we got home, I felt I needed to explain to him before he asks anything. So, I started with holding his hands and I said, "Mike, I'm sorry if I have caused you any pain again." He stopped me and said that the reason why he didn't want to introduce me to his father was because of behaviors like this. He feels his father is deliberately behaving that way just to get back at him for the time they have been fighting. So, I asked if the whole discussion was not about me. He said that his father mentioned me, but his main problem had nothing to do with anything relevant. He said he doesn't want any dark lady to be his daughter-in-law. I asked him if that was all that he said. Michael answered yes. I was relieved, but then was torn between telling Michael what had happened between his father and myself or keeping it to myself. The day before the marriage rites, his father came to where we were staying and at that time, I was the only one in the house. He came and I offered him a drink. But he did not take the drink. I told him Michael was not at home. He said he knew Michael was not at home. He wanted to come and talk with me alone. And that is why when knowing Michael was not around, he came. I asked him why then he came. And his answer was that he enjoyed everything about me and had never forgotten about me since the last encounter he had with me. Apparently, he had been to my auntie's place to see if I was there. He continued that once he had slept with me and I'm also sleeping with his son, there cannot be any marriage between us. Because he will eventually have to tell the son the truth so that he does not continue to bring any curse onto himself. So, the only solution he wants to propose is that I sleep with him for the last time before he will allow me marry his son. He said if I sleep with him, he will not talk about what has happened between us and he will know what to do for me, to cleanse me so that I will be free to be able to marry his son. When I heard him say that to me, I was furious. But I told him to give me up to the next morning. I will think about it. He said, but your marriage is due for tomorrow. I told him I will know what to do early in the morning before the time for the marriage is up. He agreed to my plan and he left the house. Michael came to meet me quiet in the house and he was packing his things to leave for where he and his friends were going to lodge. I was also going to a different location to meet my mates for the occasion. That evening, my grandmother had already come with the very few people who came with her from our village. That was what was paining me the most. Because she was very happy to see her granddaughter get married. This marriage was not going to come on, because I cannot possibly sleep with Michael and have it in my mind that I have slept with the father before. And even did it the night before our main day. So, I had to confide in my grandmother. I went to where they were lodging and called her alone, and in tears I told her everything that had happened from the time I came out the city from the village to the demands from Michael's father. I could see tears in my grandmother's eyes. The pain was too much for her. And as she shed those tears, it was as if my heart was being pierced with a knife. I told her I cannot continue with the marriage. But I didn't know how to communicate it to Michael and his family. I didn't want to break his heart either. Empty grandmother said that I should take the decision that I think it was right before she would say anything. She said if she is the one that raised me, I will know the right decision to make. I told her I cannot go ahead with the marriage. But I wanted to live with her to our hometown. I didn't want to see Michael's face. I didn't want to hurt myself again after I have made that decision clear to him. One of my friends that were going to be my maid had a recorder. I asked for it and I recorded everything on it. I called Michael and I asked him to meet me at his father's place early that morning before any other thing. So, he came with 2 of his friends and I went with my grandmother. I gave the recorder to Michael and I told him not to play it till I leave the place. In about some minutes my phone started ringing till I had to switch it off. I couldn't look at his face whilst he listens to the voice. That was how I cancelled my own wedding and came to our hometown with my grandmother. And started life all over again. I still think about Michael but I cannot continue. That is life, not everything that one wish for, is what they always get. Thank you for taking time to listen to me. Bless you all.
Please kindly subscribe, share and like our videos. Kindly hit the notification bell so you will be the first to get notification to our videos when we upload. Like I always say, these are not just stories for story's sake. They are meant for us not to make these mistakes our brothers and sisters are making. That's why we share these stories with you. I hope we've all learned something important from the story. In our quest to make it in life, we should always fight the temptation of having to do some immoral acts in order to make it. It might sound good and easy way to make money, but please, we should know that there is always cause and effect in this life. Whatever you sow today, you shall always reap tomorrow. Let's be mindful of the choices that we make. Because it can either make or unmake us in a long run. Thank you and kindly share your thought with us in the comment section below. And if you are new here, please subscribe, like and share. Thank you for listening to this episode. Watch out for the continuation of this story in our next episode. You can also watch other interesting and intriguing confessions we have on the channel.